asking if I can hear him. Just letting him know. Check it, check it, check.
Hold on,
1,
hold
2.
on.
This is Jacob. Oh, it's that one?
Well, tell them through the other one.
Oh, they'll be able to hear me through
Yeah.
that? This one?
Yeah.
How about now? Can you hear me?
What's that, Cameron?
How about now? You hear me okay? Okay.
Oh, you know what? Maybe you turn it off.
Yeah, I can let you know. It may be a while. I'm not sure because I don't see anybody here.
Hold on. Come here. Come here.
Okay. Great. I did ask them for a heads up.
Oh, they can hear you?
Yeah, they can hear me.
Okay.
So when they question me, that's it. Okay, after Spanish and after Spanish. Hello, Ruben. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. This is the county mic that I'm using. So they told me a few minutes, and as you know, I'm told that the shortest one was 45 minutes and the longest one was an hour. But you probably know that because you're in the booth all day. You have power in your apartment? We just lost it last night for the first time. We had it all the time. We're in Corbin County there. Yes, sir. Right, okay. Yeah, I'll leave this off. Okay. Oh, because they keep checking with it, yeah. So they won't be able to check it. So they told you they're about 2 months. She's in Barcelona right now. Probably 6, 7 minutes. Oh, 6, 7 minutes? They haven't said that.
¿De qué? ¿De editor?
Sí, de la tuya hace como cuando yo veo casi todo. A todos partes aquí como no, ni me la excepto mi examen. Oh, okay, thank you.
See the last mic check, Doc's got some movement, they're on their way. Okay, mic's hot. Mic check 1, 2, test 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Give me a thumbs up if it sounds good. Mic check, good. Okay, I'm gonna leave this one hot.
Hello, 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 hello. Check, 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 check. Hello, hello, hello. Check, check, check.
So, if it's hot, if it's on, it's hot, so be careful.
Right, I turn it on. Yep.
Yeah, because if you're talking that one, you can hear everything. Okay?
Okay. I wanted to put a plug in for my Spotify. Now it's done. Hello.
Hello. Hold on, I call this week.
The only
I'm here with County Attorney Christian Menifee, as well as Mr. Jason Ryan from Centerpoint and Jeff Linder, a meteorologist. All will be ready to answer questions. I will speak, then I will repeat my remarks in Spanish. We'll hear from Mr. Menifee, Mr. Ryan, and from Jeff, and we'll take questions. This is no longer just an emergency. It's clear that it is a disaster. This is no longer just an emergency. It's clear that it is a disaster. Since we last stood here 24 hours ago, we've not seen sustainable improvements just yet in the power situation. We still have about 1 million homes and businesses housing millions of people without power. What's also making matters worse is we've seen a cascade of effects that have turned what is already a dire situation into something much worse. Due to a loss of water pressure, a lot of folks are out of water, including our hospitals. The power outages affected the generators that keep the pressure going, and the pipes that have burst have also been a problem for that, leading to the loss of water pressure. Desperate people seeking any relief they can get have still been turning to bringing heating devices inside, which has caused carbon monoxide poisoning. Residents are frustrated, they're angry, they are cold. What they're enduring and continue to endure is heartbreaking, and it's frustrating. I've too many stories of families huddled together, mothers, fathers, grandparents trying to stay warm. I understand what people are going through. We still have a ways to go. The cold weather is still going to be here for a couple days, but we are beginning to see some glimmers of hope. Jason Ryan from Centerpoint will be able to answer any questions. But the latest numbers we have is that now we have 1 million customers. The Centerpoint has 1 million customers in our region that are out of power. If you'll recall, that's actually the least number of customers that have been out of power in our region since that Monday morning at around 1 o'clock in the morning, where so many of our neighbors, including myself and my family, lost power. We have reason to be optimistic because ERCOT has successfully added significant generation capacity. This does not mean that we're out of the woods yet, because they need to make sure that that capacity is stable enough that they're not going to lose it. And once they know that it's stable, they will be able to tell Centerpoint that Centerpoint can then give that electricity to the community here. We also need to recognize the current increase in generation may not be enough to cover every resident in the county. So they still may need to generate more power at the ERCOT level in order for things to change for all the residents. But I do want to mention that glimmer of hope that at least potentially, unless something changes suddenly, we are in a direction where we see some hope. Residents still need to be prepared to go a couple more days without power. We don't know when they're going to certify that new generation is stable enough to where they can distribute it to residents without it taxing and being a problem for the grid to possibly collapse. I'm hopeful this means we're finally making progress, but we'll keep watching. Over the past several days, I'll just go over briefly some of what we've been working on. We've been coordinating with an array of officials. We've made a series of requests, including water, food, and generators, National Guardsmen as well, to our state partners to help ensure that as the weather moves on, we have the resources to address these cascading effects I was talking about. I know a lot of people are struggling from lack of food and water right now. We're waiting on confirmation to see which of those resources we will actually be able to receive. The state, understandably, is having a lot of requests from all kinds of communities. And we also are waiting for an estimated time it would take for resources to arrive here. But we expect it to be perhaps a few days, given how impassable some of the roads are. Of course, we're working with partners here locally, all kinds of creative options to bring supplies, bring water, particularly to the areas that most need them, like hospitals, like our fire departments. I want to announce a new initiative that our county attorney is leading and will cover as well. We've seen some anecdotal evidence of outrageous prices on necessary items like food and water, basically price gouging. Whether it's spiking the price of basic necessities, whether it's posting an Airbnb with power for $1,000 a night, we can't imagine something more cruel than taking advantage of people who are suffering right now in this disaster and have been suffering for days. To those out there that are thinking that they can make a quick buck out of our community's pain, know that we will not tolerate any price gouging on our watch. Here are the ways to make a report on price gouging. If you see unscrupulous individuals trying to take advantage of our community, visit readyharris.org. You can file a report, or you can text the information to 346-354-7459. 346-354-7459. Make sure you compile pictures of products and prices if you can. In terms of county buildings and services will be closed to the public on Friday, and until then, at least. County employees, though, should contact their supervisor on their work status. Let's talk a little bit about what folks should keep in mind right now. I know a lot of people are running out of supplies. Today, tomorrow, the next few days during the day, we're seeing the weather warm up, which has created a window for folks to be able to go and resupply. Depending on how far north you live, you can go out earlier or later. You have to watch and see what the weather conditions are, what the conditions on the roads are. Please, if you go out for resupply today, it's already getting too late to do that. But tomorrow, as the day warms up and the other days, please drive carefully. There may still be ice on the roadways. Our stoplights are still out, hundreds, if not over 1,000. Don't drive at night. I can't stress that enough. There is very likely, surely to be ice on the roads, especially bridges and overpasses. And that is where we need to be particularly careful to not add to the accident rate that we've been able to keep low because the community has been very conscientious on that. Don't overstock. Just purchase what you need to get through the weekend and get your family to then. We have 5 million residents in this county, a lot more in the area, and we need to make sure that we are all working as a community and that we're being good neighbors. So we have posted links on readyharris.org to information about which stores are open and which stores are closed for some of our grocery store partners who've been able to provide us that information. That should be a good resource for you before you head out. I am asking that you be very careful tonight. Right now is about the time where you should begin heading to where you will be for the night. Certainly as the night falls, we're going to continue to see those temperatures, and we really ask that folks not be driving when it's darker and the water is beginning to freeze again on the roads. Let's talk about water for a minute. Given the water situation, I'm still asking folks to try and conserve water and help protect the water pressure. First, do not trickle your water. We want to try and make sure that firefighters and hospitals have that water pressure to sustain their work and to save lives. When you trickle your water, you contribute to the decrease of water pressure that they need. Second, if you are in Harris County and you do have water, assume you are under a boil water notice unless you confirm otherwise. If you have questions, check with your municipality, check with your municipal utility district. We have a map on readyharris.org that has the latest information we've received from municipal utility districts and municipalities on which have boil water notices and which do not. But if you don't know, assume that you do and make sure you boil your water for 2 minutes before drinking it. And that's, remember, that's because when the water pressure drops, bacteria seeps into the pipes. And so we need to boil that water in order to ensure that you're not drinking that dangerous bacteria. Even after the water pressure is restored, it's going to take a day or two for the officials to lift the boil water notices because folks need to test it and make sure that those bacteria levels are back down. As the sun sets, the roads will refreeze. Travel is ill-advised. I can't stress that enough. From about this evening through around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, depending on how far north you live. If you were out, now's the time to make sure and get to where you're going to spend the night. I would be remiss if I didn't remind folks of the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning that continues to be a threat for our community. Many of the homes that had power yesterday or the day before may have lost it, may lose it, and I want to make sure that everybody continues to recognize the danger of bringing outdoor appliances indoor. Do not use grills indoors. Do not run your car in your garage. That can lead to poisoning and death, and it has happened already in our community. Look, I look forward to a time when we're talking about how our community came together through all of this, how we toughed it out, how we made it through the cold, how we made it through the dark. Right now, let's focus on getting through this week, and let's focus on cherishing some of the possible good news that may be coming our way. But we continue to be here. You've got many emergency responders here at the Emergency Operations Center looking out for you, fighting to procure supplies for our region, pushing for the state to bring power back. All of us are working incessantly, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you so much for your resiliency, for your strength, and we're going to keep working together. I'll repeat my remarks in Spanish. Esto es claro que ya no es solo una emergencia, se ha convertido en un desastre. Desde que estuve aquí hace 24 horas, no hemos visto ningún incremento sostenible, significativo en el número de personas totales con electricidad. Empeorando la situación, hemos visto efectos secundarios que han hecho una situación difícil aún peor. Dada la pérdida de presión en el agua, muchas personas y los hospitales en este momento no tienen agua. Eso ha sido causado por explosiones a tuberías y también por la falla de generadores que mantienen esa presión. Muchas personas desesperadas han seguido sufriendo de intoxicación por monóxido de carbono. Y esta noche, otra vez, hay una noche fría. Están todos frustrados, enojados, con mucho frío. He visto demasiadas historias de familias, madres, padres, abuelos, todos juntos intentando estar calientes en apartamentos y hogares congelados. Todavía nos quedan días de frío, entonces sí que está esto todavía difícil. Pero también vamos a empezar a ver algunas señales, algunas buenas noticias. Y quiero compartir potencial de buenas noticias. No es nada confirmado en este momento, pero sí se empieza a ver alguna esperanza. El señor Ryan de Centerpoint va a responder a preguntas. Pero la última información que yo tengo de Centerpoint es que ahora hay 1 millón de hogares sin electricidad en nuestra región. Es un número enorme aún, pero 1 millón es el número más pequeño que hemos tenido sin electricidad desde que empezó esta crisis a la 1 de la mañana el lunes, este lunes que pasó. Entonces, ya por fin vemos en neto una reducción de las personas sin luz. Razón para ser un poco optimistas es que ERCOT, la agencia estatal, ha logrado adicionar generación de electricidad, producción de electricidad a su red eléctrica. Todavía no saben si esa nueva producción es suficientemente estable para poderle decir a Centerpoint que se puede repartir la energía a la comunidad. Si lo hacen antes de confirmar la estabilidad de esa nueva producción, se puede caer la red eléctrica. Entonces, por eso todavía no tenemos con 100% de seguridad las buenas noticias, pero al menos podemos tener un poquito de esperanza. Entonces, vamos a esperar a ver cuánto se tardan ellos en determinar si esas fuentes de producción están estables, y además van a tener que activar aún más fuentes de producción, porque eso que existe no es suficiente para suministrar a toda la población. Pero sí haría una gran diferencia si es que permiten que Centerpoint utilice esa electricidad. Entonces, vamos a estar muy pendientes. Aún así, quiero dejar muy claro que debemos estar preparados para seguir unos cuantos días sin luz. Hay posibilidad de que no tarde todo ese tiempo, pero también hay posibilidad de que sí tarde. Entonces, estemos mentalmente preparados, al menos para la peor opción. Hablaré un poco acerca de lo que estamos haciendo. Hemos estado coordinando con varias entidades. Hemos enviado, le hemos pedido comida, agua, generadores, miembros de la Guardia Nacional, varias solicitudes al Estado. Y el Estado se lo piden también al gobierno nacional, al gobierno federal. No sabemos si van a poder suministrar esas solicitudes. Obviamente hay muchas comunidades a través de nuestro estado que también les están pidiendo ayuda, y no sabemos tampoco cuándo llegaría esos materiales, pero sí sabemos que pueden ser un par de días. Igual estamos trabajando muy creativamente con todas las entidades, los individuos en la región, para intentar suministrar recursos, especialmente a las áreas que los necesitan, como hospitales, como ancianatos, áreas donde realmente el problema puede ser aún más peligroso. Hemos visto reportes de precios increíblemente altos en productos necesarios como comida y agua. Entonces, estamos anunciando una nueva opción para poder reportar esas instancias de abuso. Aquí está el abogado del condado, Christian Menefee, va a hablar de eso, responder a preguntas, pero brevemente voy a explicar cuál es la iniciativa. Hemos escuchado a personas que están aumentando los precios de las necesidades básicas, y eso obviamente no es aceptable en esta situación. Aquellos que piensan que pueden aprovecharse, ganar dinero por el sufrimiento de nuestra comunidad, deben saber que eso no será permitido en este condado. No vamos a tolerar cualquier especulación de precios en el condado Harris. Para reportar eso, puede visitar readyharris.org o mandar un mensaje de texto al 346-354-7459. 346-354-7459 para reportar abuso en cuanto a los precios. Y bajo ley se puede cargar una multa, e inclusive puede haber pena de cárcel por hacer esto. Los servicios del condado seguirán cerrados ahora hasta el viernes, y empleados del condado se les pide que contacten a sus supervisores para ver el estatus de su trabajo. ¿Qué debe hacer la comunidad? Sé que muchas personas se están quedando sin suministros y necesitan reabastecer. El día de hoy, mañana durante el día, estos días cuando durante el día ha salido el sol, se ha derretido el hielo sobre las carreteras. Para muchos, dependiendo qué tan al norte viven, hay la oportunidad de salir a obtener necesidades básicas. Entonces, por favor, si hace eso, tenga mucho cuidado, conduzca muy cuidadosamente, recuerde que todavía hay hielo en las vías, que todavía los semáforos están sin luz, sin electricidad, que especialmente en la noche no debe salir. Por favor, no salga a manejar de noche, porque las vías nuevamente van a tener mucho hielo, especialmente los puentes. Si ha podido o va a poder ir a un supermercado, no compre más de lo que necesite, no acapare comida. Hay muchas personas en este condado, todas con necesidades, y debemos solamente comprar lo que necesitemos de aquí al fin de semana. Hemos puesto una lista de información en readyharris.org donde puede ver cuáles supermercados están abiertos y cuáles están cerrados de ciertos grupos de supermercados que nos están dando esa información. El agua. Dada la situación con el agua, les sigo pidiendo a todos que por favor conserven el agua y conserven la presión del agua. No dejen correr el agua. Al correr el agua lo que está haciendo es afectando la presión del agua en los hospitales y en los departamentos de bomberos. Ellos necesitan esa presión para poder mantener a nuestra comunidad con seguridad y prevenir, luchar contra crisis dentro de la crisis que estamos viendo ahora. El segundo punto, si está en el condado Harris y no tiene, y si está en el condado Harris y tiene agua, asuma que está bajo orden de hervir el agua, a menos de que su ciudad o su distrito municipal le haya dicho que ese no es el caso. En readyharris.org también tenemos un mapa con los distintos distritos y las ciudades que nos han dicho que están bajo orden de hervir el agua, pero igual, por favor, confirme y si no, asegúrese de hervir el agua al menos 2 minutos antes de beberla. Ya que ha caído el sol, está cayendo el sol, van a volverse a congelar las vías. Por favor, no maneje esta noche. Mañana en la mañana, después de las 9, dependiendo de qué tan al norte viva, va a poder salir nuevamente a obtener suministros, pero de todos modos tenga muchísimo cuidado. Tengo que volver a recordarles a todos la amenaza de la intoxicación por monóxido de carbono. Hay muchos hogares que ahora por primera vez están perdiendo la electricidad, se les está yendo la luz y le quiero recordar a ellos también no utilizar ningún equipo que pertenece afuera, adentro del hogar. No traiga parrillas, no encienda su automóvil en el garaje. Eso causa enfermedad y causa muerte. Ya ha causado muertes aquí en el condado y ha llevado a la hospitalización de muchas familias. Miren, realmente anhelo el día en el cual vamos a poder celebrar cómo nuestra comunidad trabajó todos juntos y sobrepasamos esta crisis. Cuando podamos hablar de lo fuertes que fuimos, de cómo sobrevivimos este frío. Por ahora tenemos que pasar estos días, esta semana. Aquí seguimos, hay muchísimos trabajadores de emergencia trabajando día y noche, trabajando por usted, comprometidos con su seguridad, la seguridad de nuestro condado, luchando por cualquier recurso que podamos traer a nuestra comunidad, luchando por presionar al Estado a que reactive la generación eléctrica. Todos estamos en medio de batalla con usted. Entonces, gracias por seguir con esa persistencia, con esa fuerza y no olviden eso, tenemos que seguir adelante en esta crisis, esto va a pasar, vamos a salir de esto, pero por ahora tenemos que seguir luchando. I do want to mention for the price gouging, why don't I let County Attorney Menifee go over the details actually, but there are penalties for folks that engage in price gouging and we find out about it. County Attorney Christian Menifee.
Thank you, Judge Hidalgo, and I'm grateful to be able to partner with your office on this effort. The Harris County Attorney's Office has put together a team of lawyers and investigators to serve as a task force to address price gouging issues here in Harris County. As the judge mentioned, we're facing a set of unprecedented crises, a pandemic that we're not fully out of, and a major disaster and power issue that is resulting in millions of Harris County residents being without power or water, as well as folks across the state of Texas. But unfortunately, we've already heard tell of businesses seeking to take advantage of their neighbors' vulnerability and misfortune. Stores selling packs of water at 2 to 3 times the price that the water's typically sold at, or stores taking packs of water and breaking out individual bottles and selling those at an excessive price. Airbnb owners posting houses with power at excessive prices. Let me be clear. if my office finds your business price gouging, so selling or leasing fuel, food, water, or other necessities at an excessive price, we will call you out, we will stop you, and where appropriate, we will go to court and ask a judge to impose stiff penalties. The governor and the county judge have declared a state of emergency. That triggers a Texas law that makes it illegal for businesses or individuals to sell or lease fuel, lodging, food, water, or other necessities at an exorbitant or excessive price. In the middle of this major disaster, the last thing that Harris County residents need to be concerned about is having to pay additional money for basic necessities as they work to survive freezing temperatures. We will use this law to hold violators accountable, but to the folks in Harris County who are watching this, we need your help to identify these people. To the folks who are in the stores, who are on the internet trying to buy goods, we need your help to point out the instances of price gouging so that we can investigate and, where appropriate, take action. As the judge mentioned, some of the ways that you can reach out to this task force and report instances of excessive pricing is to text at 346-354-7459. You can email us at consumerhelp@cao.hctx.net. And I know that there are many folks across Harris County who do not have internet, but to the extent that you do, you can complete an online form, and this webpage has general information about the process for us investigating it, and when we'll get back to you at www.harriscountycao.org. And we're very grateful to the judge's office that this information is also, this link has been put on Ready Harris, so you can access the information there as well. Similar to the judge's office, our number one goal during this time is to ensure that the residents of Harris County are safe and secure. So we're asking for your help to the extent that you identify any businesses that are using shady business practices, price gouging, to stand in the way of us doing that and to make vulnerable people even more vulnerable. The judge mentioned that there are some penalties under the law that we're able to seek, and as I mentioned, we will seek those penalties to the extent we can. They are $10,000 per violation of the law, up to $250,000, and there can be an additional $250,000 violation if the victim is 65 years or older. So we're working with the judge's office to ensure that we are protecting the vulnerable populations in Harris County, and we're asking for your help to report instances that you may see. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so we're getting through this now on the weather part of this. So we've gotten through our second winter storm this morning, and we do have some additional precipitation possible, light precipitation tonight and into tomorrow. As the judge mentioned, the concern this evening is as the temperatures fall again, all that mist and water out there you see on the roadways could refreeze. And so this could be another instance, as we have seen the last several nights, of black ice forming, especially on those bridges and overpasses. The worst conditions will be the further north you go, slightly better conditions the further to the south. The good news is also tomorrow we will warm up into the 40s in the afternoon. So as the judge mentioned, that's a great opportunity if you need to restock your supplies. And then we need to prepare for very cold temperatures on Thursday night and Friday morning. It does look like a hard freeze across the area. So that is another thing we're keeping an eye on for Thursday night and Friday morning. And then we warm up and we get back to our normal Texas weather. And just to be clear, just because the weather portion of this incident is coming to the end, we are still going to have challenges and hardships that go beyond the end of the weather part of this.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan from Centerpoint. Oh, were you going to take questions? Right. All right, so we're ready to take questions.
The first question we have a couple parts. Many gas stations are closed or have long lines of people trying to stock up on fuel. Any extra fuel being brought in? If so, when? And do you recommend people fill up extra gas cans?
Yeah, I will say we have heard reports of that. There's a couple of reasons for the fuel. The main reason we believe is just that some of these gas stations are out of power. That's part of the challenge. And to the extent that some need additional supplies, it's obviously been tougher with the roads being impassable. Now that that clears up, I know that folks are requesting those supplies, and we are supporting those supplies to the extent possible. So just as with everything we've requested, whether it's fuel, whether it's water, whether it's food, whether it's generators, whether it's boots on the ground, you know, it's a matter of how quickly folks can get through impassable roads. And so, you know, we can't give an exact timeline. Mark, do you have anything to add?
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, we're coordinating with the fuel desk at the State Operations Center, and they're coordinating with all entities that produce fuel in the ship channel and other parts. As they come back online, they had to go into a steady state along the ship channel during this severe crisis of weather. And as they can produce and get those off the racks into trucks, they will be distributed. Of course, they have to go to a station that has power so that you can get it into your car. So as the judge mentioned, we are moving in a very good direction. It's going to take a few more days. Again, as the judge mentioned, it isn't about stockpiling and filling up everything that you have with gas. If you go and get gas, get enough so that you can move around. You're not going to drive across the state of Texas for the next couple of days because everything needs to thaw. Get through the weekend, and we will get back on track, and everybody will get what they need.
Thank you. Next question about power. A couple of people have suggested up here that the power will likely not be back on until after the cold weather has passed, until Friday or later. Is that accurate? Is that what we're looking at now? Is that what we should prepare for, to not have power until the weekend?
Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Judge. And thanks for covering the current status of things. I think you're right in terms of what we should prepare for. Our message has been consistent on that we should prepare for being out of power, whether you're currently on or off, for the duration of the electric generation shortfall, which I think is unlikely to end today. We've had good trends this afternoon with more generation coming online, and ERCOT telling us to bring additional customers on, which we have done. We've restored, as the judge mentioned, about 200,000 homes and businesses today. So that's the first real positive, sustained trend. There's much more to be done, though, before we're out of the woods. So I would say plan for sustained outages and hope for the best, and we have reason to hope, but that's not what we should plan for at this time.
Thank you. Third question is wondering if you can elaborate on how bad it is at the hospitals. One hospital said that Methodist has had a lot of burst pipes, and two of their campuses, I believe, have zero water, no showers or bathrooms or anything. And then pipe bursts also at a couple of other hospitals, and all of them report low water pressure. Just how bad is it at the hospitals at the moment?
It's hard to overstate. You have to remember the folks at the hospitals are the most vulnerable folks. And the hospitals are also they're the ones that are dealing with the carbon monoxide poisoning. They're the ones that are dealing with the accidents that we have had. So it's a mix of challenges. The problem is twofold. With the water pressure down, they can't have the water that they need to conduct important processes. And additionally, even if the water pressure is down, but they receive stored water from somewhere else, that can, to the extent that they don't have it, it creates problems for just the general operation of the hospital. Think cleaning, toilets, that kind of thing. We are working, and Mark can expand on this to the extent that it's necessary, on supporting the hospitals, us and the city, with the water that we can bring. That's not going to restore the water pressure, but at least they can have some water, drinking water, that they can use. And then the city of Houston, I know, has prioritized water pressure. They are working on it. I'm told that's coming as quickly as possible. I know that's been made clear to the community as well. But, it's not just the private hospitals, it's our public hospitals too, serving our county's most vulnerable residents. And that's why this is in many ways disasters within the disasters. These cascading effects are not going to go away immediately, particularly the water issues. And that's why I can't stress enough. We always hope for the best. We always hope for the best. But we plan for the worst, and we try to be realistic, because I don't like to be in the business of providing people false hope. So Mark Sloan, do you want to expand on the hospital?
You've been listening to Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo and other leaders about the current situation in Houston-Harris County. She says it's clear this is a disaster with a cascade of effects. Power outages affected generators, and busted pipes have caused a massive loss of pressure with the water. But she is starting to see some glimmers of hope. The judge says ERCOT has added significant capacity. They have to make sure it is stable, ERCOT does, and then they can tell CenterPoint to distribute it. However, it may not be enough for every resident in the county, the judge says. More power may be needed to be generated by ERCOT, and also be prepared to go a couple more days without power.
The judge also saying she's made a series of requests with state partners for water, food, generators, and National Guard help. The judge warning about price gouging, talking about businesses. And also she's saying don't overbuy when you go out to the grocery stores.
In responding to fires or any other thing that they're engaged in.
I tell conversations we've had with folks from our fire marshal's office, what the lack of water pressure does is it just makes it harder to be able to fight those fires. And especially now, we're seeing a large increase in the fire alarms that are set off. Part of that's related to the power issues. But of course, there's always the risk of fire. They are in the priority line. Of course, as we've gotten water, we've been able to try and support them. I don't have a report of, something that they weren't able to put out because of the water pressure, but we don't want to wait and find out. We know that to the extent that they don't have water pressure, it makes fighting more difficult.
The only other question we had, I think, was answered about the price gouging penalties. You said the 10,000, $250,000, and then the additional $250,000 if you're over 65. So I think that's it.
All right. Thank you so much.